Very well, hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. I am now going to solder two wires to these two pieces of track to a section to make an insulated section to park a locomotive, which will be useful also in shunting and other operations, and even just as a parking place. So let's get this done. Soldering iron is warm. I've got all my bits and pieces. I think I'm just going to use the usual solder, not the one with lead. We'll preserve that for important things. Okay, so I've cut a piece of plastic off here, filed it down using my file. The same thing here. This is a Juef. This is Juef track, and this is Fleischmann track. The Fleischmann track, I found it beside the bins in, I think, 2003. Very good quality track. Really good quality. I think this is brass track because it's not magnetic. Am I right? Yes, this isn't magnetic. This is brass. This is Mehano. This is magnetic. This is Juef, and this is super magnetic. Some Juef is also brass. I use anything, and my idea is to use cheap material, second-hand, in this case here, salvaged from the bin. Fleischmann, fantastic stuff, made in Western Germany. In fact, that's correct. So the Federal Republic of Germany, and I'll thank Ian Bugler75 for telling me this. They branded things as made in Western Germany because they didn't really consider Germany to have been, they considered Germany to be all one country. So they didn't want to call it, made in West Germany, because that meant accepting the fact that Germany at that point was divided into West Germany and East Germany. So it was Western Germany, just a geographical concept. And in fact, on political maps, Western German political maps, the inner German border was just a dotted line. Instead, East German political maps, it was a border, because East Germany considered the partition to be permanent. Well, then things went a different way, but that's history. Anyway, let's get this done. Alright, I've soldered the wires to the bottom of the track. Definitely using, in this case here, I'm using the lead-free solder from the little Parkside soldering iron. I've been keeping my old lead solder for more precision jobs, but I want to get a good result at the first go. The Fleischmann brass track was definitely more solder friendly. I got it at the first go, maybe the second. The steel Juef track, it took various attempts, and I anyway always file and to make the surface rough using the file, and then I clean it with lighter fluid to degrease it. And in this case here, eventually I succeeded by adding a little flux to the rail, and that way it stuck. So that's ready. So here we've got French Juef track, Western German Fleischmann track, and Slovenian, made in Slovenia, Mehano track. It's an international railway. Okay, right, we'll get this all reassembled now. Okay, I've refitted the track, and in the meantime I've also, this is a buffer stop length of track which I made using a Juef buffer stop on a short length of Mehano curved track, because I couldn't put a straight one, and it was missing, second hand stuff, it was missing a sleeper here. So I had a clipping of 0.75 styrene, painted it black using a matte black Uniposca marker pen, glued it in position with glue and glaze, this, and also glued this. Then we're just letting it dry, letting it set before we refit it. so that everything is absolutely perfect. Right, I've refitted the rails with the two wires, and I've also refitted the buffer stop with the reconstructed sleeper. You can see it right there. Looks nice. As we said, Mehano, Fleischmann, Juef. I still have to drill a hole to feed the cables down here under the boards, and then the switch will be fitted here. This is a 32mm diameter hole I have to make. I do not have a 32mm hole drilling bit. I think I've got a 19mm one, but I'll use the ones I have to I'll make 3, and then I'll machine it out using a wood milling bit, which I'll bring up from the cellar, which is down with my old ancient Black & Decker drill that lives down the stairs. It's older than myself. It was my father's old one, and I would no doubt do the job. At the moment I'm waiting for both batteries are flat on the Makita battery drill, so we're just gonna have to wait to do this job later. Anyway, in the meantime we can test it. In the house I always use the battery operated drill. If I really need something, I bring the Black & Decker up, but there's no point in carrying that up the stairs. Right, so let's test this thing here. We've got a small goods train with our test locomotive, which is the 030T Boer. We're on the Mehano controller, and we're just going to bring it forward at about 25% speed. And when we pass the insulated point, I'm just going to switch it off. Off. There we go. And this is the insulated section. We're on off. Now we'll just go on, stop, reverse, stop again, go. These repaired Juef wheel sets are behaving well even on the points, even propelling. We know that sometimes they don't like being propelled, as Barry Davis says. The Mehano controllers are very good. This is a Slovenian one. We're just going to turn it around the other direction. Let's give it a bit of juice. And there we go. So next thing, holes, wire everything up, and then we're going to have to put some of that wire channel, which is self-adhesive as well. A friend of mine gave me it, so that will be very good. I don't need to bother with screws. Hopefully the self-adhesive stuff sticks. Apparently he's an electrician, he told me it's good stuff. Right, so we've got, could that be red wine and this is white wine, vice versa, and we've got some gas, propane gas as well. I'll be talking about this model. We'll be talking about this wagon here in a separate video. But first we have to get this thing here fixed. We also have to get these houses that really look dilapidated. That doesn't look well at all. Okay, very well. Cheerio and see you next time. But cheerio and see you once I've finished. The video isn't finished yet. Once we get everything wired up, then we'll wind this video up and do the editing. Okay, so I've made a hole, prepared the switch. It's just for the sectioned track here, for the insulated section. Here's my switch on the balsa switchboard. This is the hole I made in the board. I'm going to glue this here on with PVA glue, and it was wider than my drill bits here, so I used the 16, and then I made 4 holes with a 12, and then I winded it with a 19, and then after I just used another bit, couple of drill bits and hiked around because I forgot to take that mill bit up, milling head up from the cellar. I came back, so I just decided to do it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's not splendid. It's not a beautiful piece of woodwork, but anyway, it'll be covered by this, which will be glued on. Of course, first I'll glue the piece of balsa, and then I'll fit the switch. Now it's just sitting in here. So I made the hole that I have the hole is with a 12 diameter hole boring bit, and the piece of balsa I actually managed to recycle a cut that I had cut for a previous project that then had not really worked out. And here you can see my box of assorted odds and ends, mainly pieces of wood, bits of sandpaper. This my old spear cutter I use with the. This is a very old one I've had since I use that for cutting straight things like pieces of wood and things like that. Well, this is the original one I had, but with the different blades. The blade that I use for cutting plastic, making holes, a heated blade, and I have to slice through plastic and things. It's an old cutter blade that I just use and I heat it on a candle. And these are my spare blades for different types of woodwork things on there. Different kind of blades. And the spare blades for the cutter and various other odds and ends that could be useful, like these are the cobbler tacks I use for making things. Some small bits of wood that are cut in here in this Austrian Socialist Party electoral campaign elections, Steiermark elections of 1984, 8th and 9th of April. And this is Franz Illischitz. He was the governor of Styria for quite a long time. My uncle, Austrian uncle, is he is in supporter of this political party, the Austrian Socialist Party. So I have quite a lot of odds and ends from damit wir auch in schwierigen Zeiten ihre Interessen wirkungsvoll vertreten können. This way, even in difficult times, we can take care of your interests. It's a nice political slogan, isn't it? Okay, Franz Illischitz, interesting name if pronounced in English. This is why we've always found this this is why I kept the matchbox. So they were giving for the electoral campaign matchboxes, cigarette lighters, pencils, pens, etc., etc. 1984, so matches. Okay, very well, so that's that done. I better tidy up, and I'm going to glue this on either probably tonight. That'll be nice and set for tomorrow, and I still have to drill this hole here. I forgot to do that, so that's easy done. I'll do that tomorrow. Right, we're nearly there. Okay, I've wired up the switch, and I will, after this clip, you'll see a few stills of the wiring. I like to make a nice loop contacts for these kind of contacts here. And today, when I was about to do this job, this soldering contact here on the Jouef track had just came off. I had used the solder without lead, so I just cleaned it up and I soldered it on using lead, and it came first shot. So definitely, instead on the Fleischmann brass track, the soldering contact, the solder applied absolutely perfectly at the first shot. Okay, so this is ready. Now I'm going to fit this in here, so we'll just pop it in, and then I'll screw it up off camera. Okay, I fitted this last night with PVA glue, and we'll get a wee building or something to fit on top of here. I was thinking about a small church, because Chapelon-Crosti hasn't got a small church. Jouef makes various small churches and chapels and things. I have to see something that would fit in this space. and that would be nice to cover it. I mean, there is actually the space here, maybe, or to even just drill a light through here as well, if we want the light to illuminate the church. We can see what to do. I might not want something with wires along here, but we'll see. We'll see how to do that. The idea would be even to, but I'm not doing any more soldering, to just take two cables from here, put a bulb so that the church is lit up when the track's going. Put no, too much complication. We'll see what to do about that anyway. I don't even know exactly what I can cover this with, but let's get it screwed up. Ready for action. Okay, so our switch is fitted, wired up, and screwed on to the switchboard. There it is, on and off. And now we'll test it. We'll test the layout with this goods train and with the 030T boiler, the two wine wagons and the propane gas wagon tanker, and the rail car, the scratch built rail car. There's my test light bulb there. Okay, right. So we'll let this. We're running with the layout all under one controller. In this case here, the Mehano controller. There it is. This is a Slovenian Mehano controller. So at the moment, this siding is powered completely, but the internal sidings are off. So that half moon there that goes all the way to the goods shed over there, right? I was actually going to bring the rail car over from here, but this piece of track here needs an extra track clip fitted to it in the middle here, because it tends to lift and the contacts are bad, so I'm going to have to add one there. That's easy, we'll do that at the end. So another lap of the goods train. In the meantime, we'll just open the points to bring it into should come straight on. Oh, very good. Well, it wasn't really supposed to uncouple. It uncoupled. That's very good. This is the third take I do of this clip. I mean, I'm beginning to be fed up. Okay, let's go and get the train. Uncoupled directly. It's been working fine, no problem at all. Oh, I think we'll just... GF wagons were just a bit tired of behaving themselves. They're perfectly gauged. Let's just hitch it up. Righto. Why is that? Somebody opened the points. Maybe the locomotive opened the points or something. Okay. Right, let's refilm that, pretending that everything worked fine. So here we go. There we are. Make sure these points are okay. There we are, in the siding, finished. And now we have the locomotive is on insulated section. I'm just going to switch that off. So now that locomotive is not going anywhere. Look, here's my controller. If I don't bring it out in view, nothing's happening because it's insulated. Right, and now we'll switch on the internal siding, the internal half moon, and this is, you see in the previous videos, which I might remember to include in the description box, the internal siding is double insulated. because the internal siding can be operated with a different controller, so that I can do shunting and shunting operations in here, or refueling operations while running a train outside. And then when I've finished doing that, I can bring the train that's running on the main line into this siding, switch it off, and do exactly what we're going to do now. So now the rail car is on the controller. Of course, we have to make sure it's going the right way. And this way we are able to just swap trains. In this case I'm doing things with a passenger train, so I just brought it out. But if I were parking a goods locomotive here, I could bring out another locomotive from the siding. It's maybe been refueling at the coaling station over there, bring it out, stop this one, and it could continue shunting and preparing its train here. Then I could simply disconnect, uncouple this and leave, and this locomotive will just stay here insulated. So I can play better play value now with just a very simple insulated siding here. Let's bring our rail car back into the internal siding, open the points. We'll stop here because we have to make sure it goes that way and it doesn't collide with a propane gas. That would be a very nasty accident. Okay, now let's see if it's actually going to go, and we could park it further away out the roads. See, it gets, the track's irregular here and it doesn't like this, not very, you see the track's a bit wobbly here. Let's see if we can get it to go. There we go, perfect. This part here is kind of, see, it moves, it needs to be screwed down. Okay, and now we can actually insulate the internal siding, the half moon, where the rail car is, and reactivate this short siding here, and we can bring our goods train back onto the main line. And we can derail. Oh, the propane wagon derailing right beside the signal box, the houses. Oh my, that wouldn't be good at all. That would be a very nasty accident. Good job. Good job we stopped. Okay. And now we've had a major problem, right? Why? Let's investigate. Could it be that one of these GF wagons has lost its gauging? Or did I not open the points properly? It's my fault. My fault, my fault, my fault, my fault. Look, I didn't close the points. I could have caused a major disaster in Chapelon-Crosti with this propane wagon if it had tipped over and being serious. Going back to the real grim reality, propane LPG wagon accident in Viareggio in Italy. I can't remember, maybe it was 2011. I don't remember the exact date, but it was a derailment. An axle broke and tipped over, and it got punctured by one of those pieces of track that are for leveling the ballast in the track, the sort of leveling indicators, and the tanker got punctured and it exploded, and it was a disaster with casualties, an absolute disaster. You can look up Incidente ferroviario di Viareggio. So, sorry about that, but whenever I'm handling a propane wagon, or I've got another one as well, a gas wagon, I always remember that because it was an absolutely terrible accident. Anyway, good job nothing happened, because as I said, I mean, of course we're playing trains and but I think that we have to try and simulate reality as much as possible, and definitely not have an accident with a propane wagon. So, you see, that was a mistake. I'm a bad signalman. I could have caused a major disaster. But luckily, I stopped just in time. So, that was that. Anyway, apart from this little mishap, and I do hope you enjoyed the video, and this, I think, is an extra point for this small layout, and definitely we have to be more careful on the points. Maybe because I do tend to be a bit distracted sometimes, in particular after a busy working day, I think I'm going to make a marker here on my points. So, because I have to mark the open, this is open, this is one position, this is open and closed. So I think I'm going to make a little, with a wee white marker, I'll have it white, oh, maybe I should even have green, I should have green and red. So, or maybe I'll just standardize on white. This way I know that white is okay, white is straight on, and when it's not on white, and also I have to pick out this lever here in a colour that makes it more visible, because of course I'm doing things in electric lights, and this is how I nearly had an accident, you see. So open like that, close like that. We only have 3 points in this layout. They're all of the Jouef type, so we don't even have different points like on the Brunel. There are 2 Mechano points and the rest are all Jouefs. So that's that. Anyway, we averted the major problem. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Cheerio, and see you next time. We're going to be able to play trains safely. Cheerio. Alright, well, I immediately implemented the safety measure. So I marked the point lever with a white dot, my white marker pen, and straight on. So if the rails are set, if the points are set to straight out, the white lever has to be beside the white dot. White lever beside white dot. White lever beside white dot. If I decide to open the points, the white lever moves away from white to black. White to black, white to black. So that way I can immediately see that my points are set up to avoid having such derailment. Of course, this is all fiction. I mean, it's playing trains. There will be no accident if the propane wagon derails. The problem is that the propane wagon might fall on the floor, and I might not want that, or it might, well, it would fall onto the old computer table, but even so, I don't want things falling off the track. So that's that done. That was a little bonus. We have implemented a very important safety measure using a Pilot Painter white marker pen. And I decided to go for white because it's not so conspicuous, and anyway, point levers are often painted out white. You know, the real ones, the ones you throw. No, the big manual ones, they're painted white to be visible. So that's that. Safety first, as they say. Cheerio, and see you next time. I'll be doing in this. This signal box has been lying around for some time. It's getting a bit dusty. There's a dusty signalman going in there. I have to get a nice box to put all these models in when they're not in use, but lately they've been lying around. I'll have to find a nice box for when the layout is not out. Okay, cheerio again, and see you next time.